Admiral Ketheron stood in the center of his command bridge, watching the holographic displays that showed the vast emptiness of space around the Vega system. His ship, the Imperial Dreadnought Sovereign Thunder, was one of the most powerful vessels in the Galactic Empire's Third Fleet. Nothing moved in this sector without his knowledge. Nothing escaped his sensors. That was why the alarm bells ringing throughout his bridge made no sense. "Report!" Ketheron barked, his six eyes focusing on the tactical display. His species, the Vorthak, had evolved to see threats from multiple angles. Right now, every eye was telling him something was wrong. Lieutenant Zexai rushed to his side, her clawed hands dancing over the control panel. "Admiral, we have detected an energy signature approaching from the outer rim. The readings are impossible." Ketheron moved closer to the scanner display. The numbers made no sense. The energy output was massive, far beyond what any known ship could produce. Yet the signature was moving at speeds that should have torn apart any vessel made of known materials. "What type of ship produces energy like this?" he asked. "That's the problem, sir. According to our database, no ship can produce these readings, not even our most advanced dreadnoughts. The energy output suggests a vessel at least 3 times larger than our flagship, but the mass readings indicate something much smaller." 50 light-years away, Captain Minho sat in his command chair aboard the human exploration vessel Horizon's Edge. The ship was sleek and silver, about half the size of an Imperial cruiser, but its appearance was deceiving. Inside its hull lay technology that the Galactic Empire could not even imagine. "Status report, Yuna," Minho said to his chief engineer. Yuna looked up from her console, her face showing satisfaction. "The quantum drive is performing better than we expected. We're maintaining 97% efficiency, and the power core is stable. Dr. Nari's AI system is working perfectly." Minho nodded. Dr. Nari had spent 20 years developing the artificial intelligence that now controlled many of their ship's systems. The AI could think faster than any organic brain, and could make calculations that would take human scientists weeks to complete. "What about our stealth systems?" Minho asked. "All working normally," replied Yuna. "The Empire's sensors should only detect us as a small exploration vessel. They have no idea what we're really carrying." The truth was that humanity had been preparing for this moment for 50 years. The last time the Galactic Empire had visited Earth, they had dismissed humans as a primitive species. They saw steam engines and early computers and decided that humans were barely worth watching. They were wrong. In the 50 years since that visit, humans had made incredible advances. They had learned to bend space and time. They had created energy sources that could power entire cities. They had built ships that could travel across the galaxy in days instead of months. But most importantly, they had learned to hide their progress. Back on the Imperial ship, the confusion was growing. "Sir," said another officer, "we're receiving more data from the long-range sensors. The signature is definitely artificial. It's a ship." Admiral Ketheron felt his stomach tighten. In his 40 years of service, he had never seen readings like this. "What species could build such a vessel?" "Unknown, sir. But there's something else. The ship is heading directly for the restricted Vega system." The Vega system was one of the Empire's most important military bases. It contained weapon factories, ship construction yards, and training facilities. No unauthorized vessel was allowed within 10 light-years of the system. The punishment for violating this rule was immediate destruction. "How long until the unknown vessel reaches our territory?" Ketheron asked. "At its current speed, approximately 6 hours. Ketheron turned to his communications officer. "Send a message to Imperial Command. Tell them we have detected an unknown vessel with impossible energy readings approaching Vega. Request instructions." On the Horizon's Edge, Minho was receiving his own updates. "Captain," said his navigation officer Yunbi, "we're approaching the Imperial sensor network. They should detect us in approximately 10 minutes. Minho looked at the tactical display showing the positions of Imperial ships throughout the system. There were dozens of them, from small patrol vessels to massive battleships. The Empire clearly considered this system very important. "Remember, everyone," Minho said to his crew, "we're here to observe, not to fight. Our mission is to gather information about Imperial fleet movements and defensive capabilities. We avoid conflict unless absolutely necessary." His orders came from Fleet Admiral Soman, who commanded Earth's hidden space fleet from a secret base in the asteroid belt. For 30 years, Soman had been building humanity's military capabilities, while keeping them hidden from the rest of the galaxy. Today was the first time a human ship would openly enter Imperial space. "Sir," said Yuna, "should I prepare the defensive systems?" Minho considered this. The Horizon's Edge carried weapons and defenses that could probably destroy any Imperial ship, but using them would reveal too much about human capabilities. "Put them on standby," he decided, "but don't activate anything unless I give the order." The minutes passed slowly. Both crews watched their sensors, waiting for the moment of contact. On the Imperial bridge, Lieutenant Zexhai suddenly straightened. "Admiral, we have visual contact." The main screen flickered to life, showing a silver ship moving through space with smooth, elegant lines. It looked almost peaceful, with no visible weapons or aggressive design features. "It's smaller than our reading suggested," Catherine said, puzzled. "But the energy output is still impossible." Run a full scan. The results came back moments later, and they made even less sense than before. "Sir," Zexhai said, her voice uncertain, "according to our scans, this vessel is using technology we don't understand. The power source appears to be some kind of contained singularity. The propulsion system shows no reaction mass, which should be impossible. And the hull material? Our scanners can't identify it." Admiral Catherine stared at the peaceful-looking ship on his screen. In his long career, he had encountered dozens of different species and hundreds of different ship designs. But he had never seen anything like this. "What species built this ship?" he asked again. His answer came from the most unexpected source. The unknown vessel was broadcasting an identification signal. "Admiral," his communications officer said, "we're receiving a transmission. The vessel identifies itself as the exploration ship Horizon's Edge, belonging to the species called humans." The bridge fell silent. Everyone knew about humans. They were the primitive species from the small planet Earth. The Empire had visited them once and found them to be completely uninteresting. They had basic technology, simple governments, and no space travel capabilities. But the ship on their screen was definitely not primitive. Admiral Ketharan felt something he had not experienced in many years. He felt afraid. Commander Taiho stood in the communication center of Earth's hidden command station, deep within the asteroid belt. The massive facility had been built inside a hollowed-out asteroid, invisible to any Empire sensors. From here, humanity coordinated all of its secret operations throughout the galaxy. "Commander," said his aide, "we're receiving a transmission from Captain Minho. He has made contact with Imperial forces at Vega." Taiho nodded and activated the quantum communication array. The technology allowed instant communication across any distance, something the Empire believed was impossible. Within seconds, Minho's face appeared on the screen. "Report, Captain," Taiho said. "The Empire has detected us, but they're confused by our energy readings. They think our ship is much more advanced than it should be, but they haven't figured out how advanced yet." Taiho smiled. This was going exactly as planned. "Remember your orders, Captain. Gather intelligence on their fleet movements and defensive capabilities. Avoid direct confrontation, but don't let them think we're helpless." "Understood, sir." The transmission ended, and Taiho turned to his tactical display. It showed the positions of human ships throughout the galaxy, all hidden from Empire sensors. Most people in the Empire had no idea that humans had been watching them for decades. Back on the Horizon's Edge, Captain Minho was preparing for what would happen next. He knew the Empire would try to contact his ship, and he had to be ready. "Incoming transmission from the Imperial vessel," announced his communications officer, Jisoo. "Put it through," Minho said. The main screen showed an alien face with 6 eyes and blue-gray skin. The creature wore the uniform of an Imperial admiral. "Unknown vessel," the admiral said. "You have entered restricted Imperial space. Identify yourself and state your purpose." Minho stood up slowly. He had practiced this moment many times. "Admiral, this is Captain Minho of the human exploration vessel Horizon's Edge. We request safe passage through your territory on a peaceful scientific mission." The admiral's 6 eyes blinked in sequence. "Humans, that's impossible. Humans are a primitive species with no space travel capabilities. I'm afraid your information is outdated, Admiral. We have been traveling the stars for quite some time." On the Imperial bridge, confusion was spreading. Admiral Ketharan turned to his science officer. "When was our last assessment of human technology?" 50 years ago, sir." At that time, they had just developed basic computing systems and were using chemical rockets for primitive space exploration. 50 years, Catharin repeated. Could they have advanced this much in 50 years? It would be unprecedented, sir. No species has ever made such rapid technological progress. But the evidence was right in front of them. The human ship was clearly using technology that shouldn't exist. Human vessel, Catharin said. You will submit to boarding and inspection. Any resistance will be met with force. On the horizon's edge, Minho exchanged glances with his crew. They had expected this. Admiral, Minho replied calmly, I'm afraid we cannot allow boarding at this time. However, we are willing to discuss our mission with you through diplomatic channels. The response shocked everyone on the Imperial Bridge. No species had ever refused an Imperial boarding demand. It was considered an act of war. Human, Catharin said, his voice growing dangerous. You do not understand your situation. You are one small ship facing the entire Third Fleet. Surrender now or be destroyed. Engineer Hanul looked up from her console on the human ship. Captain, should I activate our defensive systems? Minho considered his options. The horizon's edge could probably destroy the entire Imperial fleet, but doing so would reveal too much about human capabilities. Instead, he decided on a different approach. Admiral, Minho said, before you take any hostile action, perhaps you should consider something. How do you think one small ship traveled this far into your territory without being detected until now? The question hung in the air. The truth was that the Imperial sensors should have detected the human ship long before it reached the Vega system. The fact that they hadn't was deeply troubling. Human ship, Catharin said. Explain how you avoided our sensors. Trade secret, Minho replied with a slight smile. But I will tell you this. Your sensor network has some significant gaps. We mapped them all during our approach. This was partially true. The horizon's edge had incredibly advanced stealth technology that made it nearly invisible to Imperial sensors. But it had also taken advantage of weaknesses in the Imperial detection grid that humans had identified during years of secret observation. On the Imperial ship, panic was beginning to set in. If the humans could map their sensor network, they could share that information with other species. The entire Imperial defense system could be compromised. Sir, whispered Lieutenant Zexhai, if they can avoid our sensors, they might have already penetrated our territory in other locations. Admiral Catharin felt a chill run through his body. The humans might not be alone. There could be other human ships throughout Imperial space right now, gathering intelligence or preparing for an attack. Human captain, he said, you will explain your stealth technology and provide us with the locations of any other human vessels in our territory. Minho laughed softly. Admiral, you seem to be confused about our relationship. We are not your subjects. We are representatives of a sovereign species conducting peaceful exploration. We have as much right to be here as you do. The statement was revolutionary. No species had ever claimed equal status with the Empire. The Empire ruled the galaxy, and everyone else obeyed or was destroyed. Impossible, Catharin said. The Empire is the supreme authority in this galaxy. All other species exist at our discretion. That's one way to look at it, Minho said. But there are other perspectives. At that moment, his communications officer Jisoo announced something that changed everything. Captain, we're receiving a transmission from the Starfire and the Windwalker. They report they have successfully completed their missions and are ready to rendezvous. The words were spoken loudly enough for the Imperial sensors to pick up. Admiral Catharin realized that there were at least 2 other human ships in Imperial space. How many ships do you have in our territory? He demanded. Minho considered the question. That depends on how you define your territory, Admiral. The galaxy is a big place. The truth was that humanity had dozens of ships operating throughout the galaxy at any given time. Some were exploring new systems. Others were making contact with species the Empire had never discovered. A few were conducting intelligence operations on Imperial facilities. For the first time in his career, Admiral Catharin felt completely out of his depth. The humans were not behaving like any species he had ever encountered. They showed no fear of Imperial power. They spoke as equals rather than subjects, and somehow they had technology that surpassed anything the Empire could build. Sir, his tactical officer said quietly, we're detecting 3 more energy signatures approaching from different directions. They all match the human ship's profile. Catharin's worst fears were being realized. The humans hadn't sent one ship into Imperial space. They had sent a fleet. "Human captain," he said, trying to keep his voice steady. "What are your intentions?" Mino smiled. "As I said, Admiral, we're here on a peaceful scientific mission. We're studying Imperial ship design and defensive capabilities, for purely academic purposes, of course." The casual way he said it made it even more terrifying. The humans were studying Imperial military secrets as if it were a school project. Admiral Ketharan realized he was facing something completely unprecedented. For the first time in galactic history, the Empire had encountered a species that might actually be more advanced than they were, and that species had been watching them for 50 years without anyone noticing. Admiral Ketharan made his decision. He had spent 40 years in Imperial service, and he had never backed down from a challenge. He would not start now, even if the humans had advanced technology. "All ships," he announced over the fleet communication channel, "prepare for boarding action. Target the human vessel. We will take their ship and learn their secrets." Around the Vega system, dozens of Imperial warships began moving toward the horizon's edge. Cruisers, destroyers, and frigates all converged on the single human ship. From any reasonable perspective, the humans were hopelessly outnumbered. Captain Minho watched the approaching ships on his tactical display. He had hoped to avoid this, but the Empire had forced his hand. "Yuna," he said to his chief engineer, "are our defensive systems ready?" "All systems green, Captain." "The gravitational manipulation array is at full power." Minho nodded. The gravitational manipulation system was one of humanity's most closely guarded secrets. It allowed them to control gravity fields around their ship, creating artificial gravity wells or repulsion fields as needed. "Yunbi," he said to his navigation officer, "prepare for evasive maneuvers." "Ready?" "Sir." The first Imperial ships to reach weapons range were 3 frigates. They moved in formation, their energy weapons powering up for the attack. "Human vessel," came the transmission from Admiral Ketharan. "Surrender immediately, or face destruction." Minho sighed. "Admiral, you're making a mistake. But if you insist on this course of action, let me show you something." He turned to Yunbi. "Activate the gravitational array. Demonstration level only." "Yes, sir." What happened next defied everything the Imperial crews thought they knew about physics. The 3 attacking frigates suddenly found themselves pulled together by an invisible force. Their engines strained against the artificial gravity field, but they could not break free. Within moments, they were locked in perfect formation, completely unable to maneuver. "What's happening?" shouted the captain of one of the frigates. "Our engines are at maximum power, but we can't move." On the horizon's edge, Yunbi monitored the gravitational field carefully. "Holding them steady, Captain. They're not in danger, just immobilized." Admiral Ketharan stared at his display in shock. "How are they doing this?" His science officer was frantically running scans on the human ship. "Sir, I'm detecting massive gravitational distortions around their vessel. Somehow they're manipulating gravity itself." "That's impossible," Ketharan said. "Gravity manipulation requires energy levels that would destroy any ship." "Apparently not, sir." Captain Minho opened a communication channel to the entire Imperial fleet. "Admiral, your ships are not in danger. We're simply demonstrating that your current tactical approach is not advisable. We can release them at any time." But the demonstration was just beginning. Dr. Ariam, the ship's xenobiologist, had been studying Imperial technology for years. She activated her own communication channel. "Imperial vessels," she said, her voice calm and professional. "While you consider your next move, perhaps you would be interested in some technical information." She began broadcasting a detailed analysis of Imperial ship design. "Your hull plating uses a titanium-vanadium alloy with a crystalline structure that becomes brittle when exposed to specific energy frequencies. Your shield generators operate on a rotating harmonic that can be disrupted by targeting the phase. Variance points located approximately 30 meters behind your main sensor arrays." Admiral Ketharan felt his blood turn cold. The human was describing vulnerabilities in Imperial ship design that were classified at the highest levels. "This information should be impossible for any outside species to obtain. Your weapon systems," Dr. Ariam continued, "use plasma containment fields that can be destabilized by introducing quantum fluctuations at specific intervals. Your life support systems have backup protocols that can be remotely accessed through your communication arrays, if you know the proper encryption keys." She paused. letting the implications sink in. "Should I continue, Admiral?" The silence that followed was deafening. Every Imperial captain in the fleet realized that the humans knew more about their ships than they did themselves. "How do you know this information?" Catharon demanded. "We've been studying your technology for quite some time," Dr. Ariam replied. "You build excellent ships, but you have some design flaws that could be corrected with minor modifications." The casual way she offered to help improve Imperial technology was almost more shocking than the knowledge itself. The humans weren't just superior to the Empire. They were so superior that they were willing to offer helpful advice. Then Tactical Officer Jiwan made an announcement that changed everything. "Captain," she said, "I'm receiving a transmission from Fleet Admiral Soman. She's requesting a conference call with Imperial Command." Minho smiled. "Put her through." The main screen flickered, and suddenly Admiral Catharin found himself looking at an elderly human woman sitting in what appeared to be a command center. Behind her, he could see dozens of tactical displays showing ship movements throughout the galaxy. "Admiral Catharin," Fleet Admiral Soman said, "I apologize for the dramatic introduction, but your forces gave us little choice. Who are you?" Catharin asked. "I am Fleet Admiral Soman, commanding officer of Earth's Deep Space Exploration Fleet. Captain Minho reports to me, as do the commanders of approximately 300 other vessels currently operating throughout the galaxy. 300 ships. The number hit Admiral Catharin like a physical blow. The humans had 300 advanced vessels operating in space, and the Empire had never detected a single one until today. "That's impossible," he said weakly. "I understand your confusion," Somin said. "Your intelligence reports on human capabilities are approximately 50 years out of date. We've made some progress since then." She gestured to something off-screen, and one of her tactical displays became visible to the Imperial fleet. It showed the positions of human ships throughout Imperial space. There were dozens of them, in systems the Empire considered secure. "As you can see," Soman continued, "we've been observing your operations for quite some time. We know the locations of your shipyards, your training facilities, your supply lines, and your communication networks." Admiral Catharin realized that the Empire's greatest fear had been realized. An unknown enemy had penetrated all of their defenses and could strike anywhere at any time. "What do you want?" he asked. "Actually, Admiral, we want to prevent a war. Your species and ours have no reason to be enemies. We're both intelligent spacefaring civilizations. There's room in the galaxy for both of us." Soman's words were reasonable, but they carried an unmistakable threat. The humans had the capability to destroy the Empire, but they were choosing not to. "However," she continued, "we cannot allow the Empire to continue its current expansion policies. You've been conquering and enslaving younger species for centuries. That needs to stop." The statement was revolutionary. No one had ever told the Empire what it could or could not do. "The Empire has ruled this galaxy for 1,000 years, Catharin said. "And now it will learn to share," Soman replied. "Captain Minho will release your ships now. I suggest you contact your superiors and arrange for proper diplomatic talks. This conversation has been recorded and transmitted to your Imperial Command. They should be receiving it in approximately 10 minutes. The screen went dark. A moment later, the 3 captured frigates found themselves free to maneuver again. Admiral Keth Aaron sat in his command chair, staring at the peaceful-looking human ship on his display. Everything he thought he knew about the galaxy had just been proven wrong. The humans weren't primitive. They weren't weak. They weren't alone. And they had been watching the Empire for 50 years, learning all of its secrets while remaining completely hidden. For the first time in Imperial history, the Empire had encountered a species that was not only their equal, but possibly their superior. The galaxy would never be the same. The Imperial Palace on the capital world of Vorthak Prime had never seen such chaos. Emergency alarms echoed through the massive stone corridors as officials ran between meetings, carrying data tablets and speaking in urgent whispers. Emperor Zathakul sat on his ancient throne, his 12 advisors gathered before him. The recording from Admiral Catharin played on the main display for the 5th time. Each viewing made the situation seem more impossible. 300 ships, muttered General Vexithok, the Empire's military commander. How did we miss 300 ships? Intelligence Director Morgeth stepped forward, his forearms gesturing frantically. My lord, our agents throughout the galaxy are reporting similar contacts. Human vessels have been detected in 17 different systems in the past hour, all of them using technology we cannot identify. The Emperor's ancient face showed no emotion, but inside he felt something he had not experienced in centuries of rule. Fear. "Show me the tactical analysis," he commanded. The display changed to show a map of the galaxy. Red dots marked Imperial territory, while blue dots showed confirmed human ship sightings. The blue dots were everywhere. "They're not just in our space," General Vexthok said. "They're in neutral territory, unexplored systems, and areas we claimed but never occupied. It's as if they've been mapping the entire galaxy." On Earth's hidden command station, Intelligence Officer Do-hyun was briefing his own commanders. The asteroid facility hummed with activity as humans coordinated their operations across the galaxy. "The Empire is in full panic mode," Do-hyun reported. "Their communication networks are overloaded with emergency transmissions. Fleet movements indicate they're pulling ships back to defend core systems." Fleet Admiral Soman nodded. "Good. Fear will make them more willing to negotiate." "What about the other species?" "That's where it gets interesting," Do-hyun said with a smile. "The Zephyrians have contacted us directly. Apparently, they've been hoping someone would challenge the Empire for decades. The Zephyrians were one of the older species in the galaxy, conquered by the Empire 200 years ago. They had advanced technology but had been forced to serve as Imperial engineers and scientists." "What do they want?" Soman asked. "Freedom," Do-hyun said simply. "They're offering to share their advanced physics research in exchange for protection from Imperial retaliation." Similar reports were coming in from across the galaxy. Species that had been conquered or threatened by the Empire were making contact with human ships, offering alliances and support. Back on the horizon's edge, Captain Minho was receiving new orders from Admiral Soman. The mission had changed from reconnaissance to diplomacy. "Captain," came Soman's voice over the quantum communicator, "we're shifting to the next phase. You're authorized to offer technological exchange with the Empire." "What kind of exchange?" Minho asked. "Medical technology. Our biomedical research could solve the plague that's been affecting their core worlds." Minho understood. For the past 20 years, a mysterious illness had been spreading through Imperial space. It affected multiple species and had killed millions. The Empire's medical science had been unable to find a cure, but humans had been studying the plague for just as long, using tissue samples obtained through secret operations. Dr. Nari's medical team on Earth had developed a cure 3 years ago. "Sir," said his medical officer, Gina, "are we really going to give them the cure? After everything they've done to other species?" Minho considered the question. The Empire had conquered dozens of civilizations and enslaved billions of beings. They had committed acts that humans would consider war crimes, but offering medical aid was the right thing to do. "Yes," he said. "We're going to show them that there's a better way to deal with other species." He opened a communication channel to Admiral Ketheron's ship. "Admiral," Minho said, "we would like to discuss something that might interest you. We understand that your people have been suffering from a plague for several years." On the Imperial bridge, Admiral Ketheron felt his heart skip a beat. The plague had killed his own brother. It was affecting every species in Imperial space, and their best scientists had no answers. "What do you know about our medical situation?" he asked carefully. "We know that the illness affects the cellular repair mechanisms in multiple species," Minho replied. "We also know that your medical researchers have been trying to develop a cure using traditional Imperial methods. And we have a cure." The statement hung in the air like a bomb waiting to explode. Admiral Ketheron felt his hands shaking. "That's impossible," he said. "Our best scientists have been working on this for 20 years. "Your scientists are very skilled," Minho agreed. "But they're approaching the problem from the wrong direction. The plague isn't just a biological agent. It's a bioengineered weapon that was designed to resist traditional medical treatment." "A weapon? Who created it?" Minho paused. "That's classified information. But we can tell you that the creators are no longer a threat. We dealt with them several years ago." The implication was clear. Humans had fought and defeated an enemy that the Empire didn't even know existed. "Why would you help us?" Admiral Ketheron asked. "Because it's the right thing to do," Minho said simply. "Innocent people are dying. We have the ability to save them." Medical Officer Gina stepped forward. "Admiral, I can transmit the cure specifications to your medical staff right now. Your people could begin production within hours." On the Imperial ship, the chief medical officer looked at the incoming data with amazement. The cure was elegant and simple, using principles that Imperial science had never considered. "This could work," he whispered. This could actually work, but Admiral Ketharan was thinking about larger implications. If the humans could cure the plague, what else could they do? What other problems could they solve? "Human captain," he said. "What do you want in return for this cure?" "Nothing," Minho replied. "Consider it a gesture of goodwill." The answer shocked everyone on the Imperial bridge. In their experience, no one gave away valuable technology without expecting something in return. "However," Minho continued, "we would like to discuss a broader agreement between our species." "What kind of agreement?" "Peace," Minho said. "An end to Imperial expansion through conquest. Recognition of the sovereignty of other species. Basically, we want the Empire to learn how to coexist instead of dominate." Admiral Ketharan realized that he was not qualified to make such decisions. This was a matter for the Emperor himself. "I will need to contact Imperial Command," he said. "Of course, take all the time you need. But Admiral, you should know that we're having similar conversations with Imperial representatives throughout the galaxy. This isn't just about our two ships anymore." As if to prove his point, reports began flooding in from across Imperial space. Human ships were making contact with Imperial forces everywhere, offering technological assistance and requesting diplomatic talks. The Empire was facing a choice. They could fight a war against an enemy that was clearly superior in every way, or they could learn to share the galaxy with species they had always considered beneath them. For the first time in Imperial history, conquest was not an option. The humans had made sure of that. Emperor Zathkul studied the reports from across his empire. In every case, the humans had demonstrated superior technology while offering peaceful solutions to problems the Empire couldn't solve. They weren't conquerors. They were teachers, and that made them more dangerous than any enemy the Empire had ever faced, because they were offering something the Empire had never learned to provide: hope. 3 days after the first contact at Vega, the largest diplomatic gathering in galactic history was taking place in neutral space. The meeting point was an ancient space station that had been abandoned for centuries, now hastily repaired and equipped for the negotiations. Fleet Admiral Somin arrived aboard humanity's flagship, the Terra Ascendant. The massive vessel dwarfed every other ship at the gathering, including the largest Imperial dreadnoughts. Its hull was a work of art, combining advanced human engineering with design elements from dozens of different species. Emperor Zathkul had come personally, bringing with him the most powerful leaders in the Empire. They had expected to meet with a small delegation of humans. Instead, they found themselves facing representatives from over 40 different species. "Impossible," whispered General Vexthok as he studied the assembled fleet. "Where did all these ships come from?" Intelligence Director Morgoth consulted his data tablet. "Sir, we're detecting vessels from the Zephyrians, the Andorians, the Crystalline Collective, and dozens of other species we thought were either primitive or extinct." The truth was becoming clear. While the Empire had been focused on conquering and ruling, the humans had been exploring and making friends. Ambassador Sangwoo stood at the head of the human delegation, his calm demeanor hiding years of careful preparation for this moment. Behind him sat representatives from species that spanned the galaxy, united by a common desire for peace and cooperation. "Your Imperial Majesty," Sangwoo began, "thank you for agreeing to these talks. We understand this situation is unprecedented." Emperor Zathkul studied the human ambassador. He had expected to meet with warriors or conquerors. Instead, he found himself facing a diplomat who spoke with quiet confidence. "Ambassador," the Emperor said, "our reports indicate that humans have been operating in our space for decades without our knowledge. This is an act of war by any reasonable definition." "With respect, Your Majesty," Sangwoo replied, "we have been exploring space that you claimed but never occupied. We have not attacked your ships, stolen your resources, or harmed your people. In fact, we have protected several of your colonies from threats you were unaware of." "What threats?" Ambassador Sangwoo gestured to one of his aides, who activated a holographic display. It showed a map of the galaxy with various danger zones marked in red. "The Void Hunters, Your Majesty, a species of energy beings that consume organic matter. They destroyed the Helix civilization 12 years ago. Your records show that system as unexplored, but it actually contained billions of living beings." Emperor Zathkul felt a chill. The Empire had no record of this threat. We've been fighting the Void Hunters for 15 years, Sangwoo continued. Our alliance has prevented them from reaching Imperial space on multiple occasions. The holographic display changed to show battle reports and ship movements. The scope of the conflict was staggering. While the Empire had been focused on internal politics, humans and their allies had been fighting a war to protect the entire galaxy. Why didn't you contact us? General Vexthok demanded. We tried, said a new voice. Captain Minho stepped forward, still wearing his ship captain's uniform. 12 years ago, we sent a diplomatic mission to your capital. Your border guards destroyed our ship without warning and declared humans to be hostile primitives to be shot on sight. The Emperor's advisors shifted uncomfortably. They remembered that incident. It had been considered a minor border skirmish at the time. Your imperial policy, Minho continued, stated that any species that could not match Imperial technology was not worthy of contact, so we decided to develop our technology in secret until we could meet as equals. Ambassador Sangwoo took control of the conversation again. Your Majesty, we're not here to discuss the past. We're here to talk about the future. The holographic display changed again, showing a new map of the galaxy. This one showed trade routes, communication networks, and cooperative research stations spanning hundreds of systems. This is what we've built while you've been focused on conquest, Sangwoo said. A network of cooperation between dozens of species. We share technology, resources, and knowledge. We protect each other from threats like the Void Hunters. We explore new worlds together. And where does the Empire fit into this network? The Emperor asked. Wherever you choose to fit, Sangwoo replied. We're offering you membership in the Galactic Cooperative. Equal status with every other species. Equal voice in decisions that affect the galaxy. The offer was revolutionary. The Empire had never been offered membership in anything. They had always been the ones extending invitations to others. What would this membership require? The Emperor asked carefully. An end to conquest through warfare, Sangwoo said. Recognition of the sovereignty of other species. Participation in the collective defense against galactic threats. And contribution to the common good through shared technology and resources. Emperor Zathkul looked at his advisors. They were all thinking the same thing. The Empire had built its power through military force. Without conquest, how would they maintain their position? As if reading his thoughts, Ambassador Sangwoo smiled. Your Majesty, your people have many valuable skills. Your engineers are among the best in the galaxy. Your scientists have made remarkable discoveries. Your artists have created works of incredible beauty. The galaxy needs these contributions more than it needs another conqueror. He gestured to the assembled representatives. Every species here has something unique to offer. The Zephyrians understand energy manipulation like no one else. The Crystalline Collective can grow living computers. The Andorians have mastered biological engineering. And humans, we seem to be good at bringing everyone together. And if we refuse? General Vexthok asked. Then you will be alone, said Captain Minho. The age of conquest is ending, General. Species are choosing cooperation over subjugation. The Empire can either adapt or be left behind. It wasn't a threat. It was simply a statement of fact. The galaxy was changing, and the Empire could change with it or become irrelevant. Emperor Zathkul stood up slowly. At over 2,000 years old, he had seen the Empire rise to dominate the galaxy. He had never imagined that he might see it forced to evolve. These are significant changes you're proposing, he said. Yes, they are. Ambassador Sangwoo agreed. But consider the alternative. Your people are dying from a plague we can cure. Your economy is strained by constant military spending. Your scientists are isolated from the greatest research projects in galactic history. Your artists have no audience beyond your own species. He paused, letting the words sink in. Join us and your people will have access to knowledge and opportunities beyond anything they've ever imagined. The Emperor looked around the room at the representatives from dozens of species. Many of them had been conquered by the Empire at various points in history. Now they were offering the Empire a chance to join them as equals. I will need time to consider this offer, he said finally. Of course, Ambassador Sangwoo replied. But while you're considering, perhaps you would accept a small gesture of goodwill. He nodded to one of his aides, who handed him a data tablet, the complete specifications for the plague cure, along with manufacturing instructions and enough raw materials to treat your entire population. No strings attached. Emperor Zathkul took the tablet with trembling hands. The plague had killed millions of his people. including members of his own family. Why? He asked. Because it's the right thing to do, Ambassador Sangwoo said simply. That's what cooperation means, Your Majesty. We help each other not because we have to, but because we choose to. 6 months later, the Empire formally joined the Galactic Cooperative. The ceremony was broadcast throughout the galaxy, showing former enemies working together to build a better future. Captain Minho stood on the bridge of the horizon's edge, watching the celebration on distant worlds. His mission to gather intelligence on Imperial defenses had somehow become the foundation for galactic peace. Well done, Captain, came Fleet Admiral Soman's voice over the communicator. You've helped change the galaxy. Minho smiled. I had good help, Admiral. And besides, this was always humanity's plan, wasn't it? Was it? Soman asked with amusement in her voice. Of course, Minho replied. We've always been better at making friends than making enemies. He was right. Throughout their history, humans had shown a remarkable ability to unite diverse groups toward common goals. Now they had done it on a galactic scale. The age of conquest was over. The age of cooperation had begun. And humanity had shown the galaxy that sometimes the greatest strength is not the power to destroy, but the wisdom to build something better.